Welcome to the Family Law Growth Podcast. We interview the nation's fastest growing family law firms to get insights on what is working today. We leave no stone unturned, from intake to the biggest mistakes they've made while scaling to multi-7 figures and 8 figures. I'm your host, Elliot, co-founder of Empirical 360. Let's dive into the episode. Welcome to the Family Law Growth Podcast, another episode, fun with founders. It has been reported to me that these are kind of fun, so we're going to keep the name for now. So
people are just being nice to us.
Yeah, I don't know. People said it was fun, whatever. But I'm here with Erik, co-founder of Empirical 360, and today we're going to be talking about the brutally honest truths that no one is telling family law firms.
We're not holding back.
We feel it is our mission to give you this information so you stop getting screwed over. So what is the first brutally honest truth that we're going to be dealing with today?
The first brutally honest truth is that you shouldn't model your intake team off of the personal injury law firm down the road or the largest personal injury law firm in your coaching group, or that's being serviced by your marketing company. Why? Most of the time, personal injury, it's not only personal injury, it's also like immigration and other practice areas they can get away with because they play by different rules. Virtual assistants, doing the whole intake, doing the whole process, booking people on attorneys' calendars. Why is that, Elliot?
So what I have found, and let me give you some background information on why can I talk about this. I've listened to thousands and thousands of calls for family law firms and other practice areas, and I interface with intake people on a daily basis. And what I have found is the more complex the process, the more skilled the person needs to be to get the prospect on the other side of the sale. Now, if you think about personal injury as a process, they're giving away their service. It's free, and you're going to get money at the end of this thing. Is there a better offer out there?
No better offer.
That's why they make so much money. But anyway,
you're talking to a lawyer instantly, usually same day, on the weekends, 24/7.
Yeah.
It's a layup to schedule.
They play by different rules. So not only do they have this killer offer and people are going to make money, but there's a time limit on when they need to do things. And then if you flip that to family law, they need to gather a bunch of personal information. Like, how much money do you make? What's happening with your kids? What's happening with your spouse? It's personal. And divorce is not fun. It takes a long time and it costs a lot of money. So you have to have somebody that can communicate and relate to a person very quickly. And this is the brutal, honest truth that nobody is willing to say. If your intake person doesn't look and sound like your prospects, they're not going to relate to them. Let me dig a little deeper. If your intake person has a heavy accent, and your prospects don't, they're not going to feel like...
Unless they're British.
Yeah, if they're British, they breaks all the rules.
Hire them on the spot.
Yeah, if they're British, hire them for sure. But if they don't sound like your prospects, there's going to be a problem. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you're doing family law in Alabama. I love an Alabama accent. Shout out Christopher Word and Chrissy, wherever you are. If you're doing intake in Alabama and your intake people have a heavy Spanish accent, they're based out of Miami, those two are going to clash.
Be a little bit of friction.
It's going to be friction. Now, on the other side of that, if you're outsourcing your intake to people offshore where it's known that this is going to be lower skilled labor and it's cheaper, they're not going to have the skills to deliver the script with the right tone, with the right empathy, with the right firm mission. They're just going to simply read it like a robot.
Yep.
This is where family law firms go wrong. It works for PI. It doesn't work for family law firms.
Especially when you want to attract high net worth individuals, business owners, they are going to expect an even higher level of service. And offshore services don't really cut it most of the time from what we've seen. And the consequence of this is a lot of times people will use these third-party services and the third-party services will pretty much deflect all the leads, and then they'll judge their leads based off of that. If they had someone good, they would realize that there's actually a good bit of good leads in there, and they'd actually be profitable in their marketing. So there's a lot of consequences to just having overseas or virtual assistants.
The thing is those things can work. You just have to make the script super, super simple. If it's too complicated, it's not going to work. Right. And the other thing, to your point, is if you think about, let's say you're a firm and you're like, look, we only divorce people who make over $1 million, and we're super high net worth and we're super high asset and we're super, super, super. The people that you're dealing with like Ritz-Carlton experiences. And you just have to ask yourself, is my intake Ritz-Carlton? Or is it, Holiday Inn?
Yeah.
which I've stayed there. It's not that bad. Anyway, that's the point. So don't do a PI intake system for a family law firm.
All right, I hope you're enjoying the episode. So if you are struggling to grow your family law firm and you would love to be in the room with other 7-figure and 8-figure family law firms, like some of the guests we have on this podcast, go ahead and click the link in the description and you can learn about our workshops that we do. So we do workshops every single quarter with family law firms where we dive into marketing and non-attorney sales specifically for family law firms. Now, what's awesome about these workshops is you get to learn from people actually doing it, so 8-figure family law firm owners, and then you get to break off into small groups and pick the brain of the subject matter experts that actually do the function that you're trying to solve for. So if you want to come to one of our workshops, go ahead and book a call. We'll chat about it. I'll let you know when the next one is and see if it's worth coming out to.
What's the next brutally honest truth?
The next brutally honest truth is I'm building Elliot, my marketing plan for 2026. My coaching company told me that whatever my goal is for revenue for 2026, I should have my marketing spend be about 20% of that. Because there's other law firms in my coaching group that are using those same KPIs and they're making money, they're growing, and I want to be one of those people. I want to accept the award on stage next year. That's the scenario we've seen a lot.
So what you're saying is I want to match my KPIs to other people's KPIs, maybe even PI firms.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we're picking on PI.
We love personal injury.
It's a very different business. And this is harming people. So what is the big problem with using other people's KPIs to build your family law firm?
Usually there's a lot of marketing agencies, coaching groups out there that their best clients just happen to be personal injury lawyers or even immigration firms just because they're their highest grossing clients. And what they'll do is they'll build a blueprint of success off of their firms and apply it to all their clients. They'll apply it to estate planning firms. They'll apply it to family law firms, criminal firms, and the numbers just don't work. We'll meet with clients that have accidentally grown themselves out of business. Like they've had more sales, they'll scale up their marketing, and all of a sudden they're compressing their margins because the cost of acquisition that they're willing to pay based off the plan that they made just doesn't math. The math doesn't math. And so what that actually looks like is a personal injury lawyer can afford to pay a lot more to acquire a client, not just gross margin too. So their business model is a leaner business model than a family law firm. The cost to fulfill a client is a lot less. Each lawyer can handle significantly more cases. So not only are their case values better, but the margins better. And so their planning looks very different than yours. Same thing for immigration. Immigration, the numbers are way different. The cost to fulfill a client, especially in the beginning of the case, is really small. The leads are really cheap. So they can scale really fast, whereas family law firms can't using the same metrics. And so that's where you get into big trouble in planning is you use just generic law firm planning, not planning that's specific to your business, because the family law firm down the street will not operate on the same margins as yours. And so your cost of acquisition cannot be the same as theirs.
So give me an example of a scenario. Let's say I'm a coach, whatever. It doesn't really matter, right? I'm not throwing shade at these people. They don't do it by malicious intent. I just don't think that they think of the family lawyer. But let's say that I tell you, you need to operate at 20% margins because that's what I say. That's what our playbook says. 20% margins. Why wouldn't that work for a certain firm?
Yeah, so Sally down the street, she may have 20% margins and she may love her firm and she's taking all the profits and she's living the life she wants to live. But we may have 4 partners over here. Now that's 5% apiece. Now we're making less money owning a really large firm than we could just as solos. So for us, our margins have to look different or our gross has to be way different. And so our metrics will look much different than the firm that's owned by one person.
The other thing too is everybody has different risk tolerances. Some people need to and want to operate on a much higher margin because they need that money for their personal lifestyle, or maybe they're in a ton of student loan debt, or whatever. Everybody has different personal goals. And so when you get a blanket statement, I need to operate on X net or X payroll percentage, those are good starting points, I think, for people to at least know, am I in the realm of success metrics or not? But once you double click into a firm's specifics, it really, really is on a case-by-case basis. Case values, for example, in sales. If you have a $20,000 initial retainer, you don't need to close at 20% of your appointments. You can close at 10% and make plenty of money. But I just think people don't think about this stuff because they take everything other companies or businesses say as law and they don't think about it through their own firm's lens.
As a quick story, because there's not a lot of information about this stuff for agencies, we've spent not just hours, days with ChatGPT trying to figure out what our metrics should be, what our cost of goods sold should be, how much should we pay to deliver a client, how much should we pay to acquire a client. And it was tough to get through, and it was a very personal number. I don't think our agency would look like any other agency. Our risk tolerance is different. The phase we're in business is different. And so your firm will be different too.
So not only did we spend all this time with ChatGPT doing this exact exercise, but a lot of people out there will take, because a lot of the business education out there is around like Silicon Valley. It all comes from like VC funds, private equity funds, and all of those companies grow software businesses. So if you take the metrics of a software business and apply it to a service-based business, you're going to get kicked in the teeth. Most software businesses operate on a 1 to 3x of marketing. So every $1 I spend in marketing, I get 3x return for my product. However, all of software is automated, super high leverage. They don't need the margin that a family law firm needs or an agency needs. And so some organizations out there, especially if they're not law firm specific, will tell you, hey, get a 1 to 3x or get a 1 to 5x. It's actually much higher. You need a much higher multiple on your marketing cost of acquisition to your actual lifetime value. So it looks different for every firm, but just be careful is the end statement.
So be careful taking advice from other people. And just to make this actionable for the people listening, you should know what you can pay marketing dollars to acquire a new customer. Don't go ask your coach. You ask them for help to figure it out. Sure, ask your marketing company for help, but you need to know that number, and it has to be a number that works. And you want that number to be as high as possible, because the higher you get it, the more you have like cheat codes when it comes to marketing. The reason Morgan & Morgan can put his name on a bus, a billboard, every billboard, a bench, is because he can pay more to acquire a customer than anyone else and still profit. So his marketing breaks all the rules. He spent $350 million in marketing in 2025.
Yeah.
He's able to do that because he could pay the most to acquire a customer. I've seen clients not realize that they could pay like $2,000 to acquire a customer because their case value is really high. And as soon as they start doing that, they start growing way faster than they thought possible, because it feels like you're operating with cheat codes. It's awesome. It's a superpower.
So what is the next brutally honest truth that they need to hear?
The next brutally honest truth is, should you be targeting high net worth clients only? It's actually every onboarding we get. When we ask clients, like, who is your ideal client? They always say, I want to target people who are business owners, have a ton of money, high net worth people, just because my business will run so much better.
So I think they're trying to solve, well, in some cases, you actually do only work with high net worth people, and you actually do understand how that process works as a firm. But most of the time, I think the problem they're trying to solve for is they just want people to pay their damn bills.
Pay their bills and be easy to work with.
Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily mean they have to be high net worth, because a lot of times, if your ideal client is a millionaire, there's not that many of those in your market, unless you're in San Francisco or you're in, a tech area, or Scottsdale. Yeah. I mean, unless you're in an area where it dictates high net worth divorces, you're not going to pull those people out of your everyday cities all the time. And so I think the problem they're trying to solve for is people that pay their bills, not people that are ultra rich. The other thing I see is that, and I don't mean this to be insulting, but they wear it as a badge of honor. Like, we only work with millionaires, but their firm is only doing $1 million to $2 million in revenue, and they'll never grow past that, because millionaires are going to want to work with the most experienced attorney, which is you, which means you're going to stay in legal production. They want concierge service. They're very picky. It's harder to find talent. And so those firms are generally what we see is the firms that work with the most high net worth people are usually the smaller firms.
Yeah.
There's not that many of them out there.
It's usually a solo with a really good reputation.
Yeah, most of the time. Or solo and a couple really solid attorneys. But again, it's harder to find talent. They want to work with the founder, blah, 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 blah. So again, if you're optimizing towards being a master of your craft and you love litigation and you love being an attorney, absolutely, I think those are great clients. But if you're optimizing towards making more money and getting out of legal production and becoming an owner, I don't know that those are the best clients to go after, because A, they're not abundant, and B, they always want to work with the highest level person.
Another thing too is, if you do make the decision, because we have some clients that do it successfully too.
Yeah.
That want to just go for the ultra high net worth. Like when we ask them questions, because we do video shoots for clients, they'll actually have amazing answers to how a high net worth divorce is separate from another, how to divide these assets versus these assets, crypto versus RSUs, all those things. But your expectation for marketing has to be different. So usually when you service that avatar, your case value is also higher. So your cost of acquisition can be higher and your closing rate can be lower. It's not that you want all of your leads to be perfect. It's we can get 100 leads, close 2 or 3 and make a lot of money because our case value is so much bigger and we're looking for that perfect setup. That's usually the best way to get there. I haven't seen a lot of people where they get 10 leads a month. They're all 10, billionaires and you close 100% of them. Usually you still have to do a little bit of marketing to everyone. You still want to call out the best things about your clients that you want to work with, but you're gonna have to do a lot of filtering. You're gonna have to pay a lot more in marketing to get to that person usually.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like if you think about how many Lamborghinis does Lamborghini sell versus how many Toyotas does Toyota sell.
Yep.
They're going to kiss a lot more frogs, as somebody always says in our sales.
But they
training.
still put their cars in the middle of malls. They still put them on TV commercials. They just have to filter a lot more.
Yep.
And they have to pay a lot more to acquire a sale.
Yep. But pays off. Case value is way bigger, right? So what is the next brutally honest truth?
So the next brutally honest truth for family law firm owners and really all business owners is that you need to stay involved in a lot of things that I think people are letting go of too fast. I've seen a lot of people, they'll crack like their first $1 million in revenue. Great job, cool accomplishment. But then all of a sudden they'll hire like a C-suite and they won't ever look at marketing. They won't ever look at recruiting. They won't ever look at operations.
So let me stop you right there. If you made $1 million, you're probably not making enough money to hire C-suite. Generally that comes around like 10 million, 8 million. You're starting to hire higher level talent that actually has done it before.
Mm-hmm.
But at $1 million to 5, those people aren't really there. Now, unless you're growing those people internally and they're moving up, awesome. But you're not going to go hire a COO for less than like 300 grand a year probably, or 400 plus bonuses, plus they want all kinds of things, right? So those people cost a lot of money. But I think if you are going to hire people to own a function, let's say marketing or sales, you need to be involved. You need to, be able to check on their KPIs. And our favorite saying is don't trust and verify. It sounds terrible, but we've been burned. We've seen our clients. What drives me nuts is when our clients get burned by an internal person, it can literally put a firm out of business. Yep. So, I think it's a scary thing to hand off entire functions and don't ever look. Really, you're not delegating, you're abdicating.
And it's not only to team members, it's actually agencies and coaches too. Like we're an agency. I would sure trust your agency to tell you strategy, but I still want to have the last say and I still want to know the details. Same thing on the sales side, or same thing on your coaching side. I think too frequently in the law firm space, because you all are such good students, they will just like, hey, what should your cost of acquisition be? I don't know, let me check on my coach. Or, I don't know, let me check on my agency. And they won't actually go through the process of figuring it out. And then now they're relying on all these groups to make decisions rather than themselves getting the benefit of like skill stacking, knowing how to do this, knowing how to do that. It takes a lot more work. You have to pay a lot more attention, but the reward is worth it.
Yeah. And as a side note, our biggest firms that we work with, we're talking firms that are doing over 20 million, 10 million a year, family law firms, all of the owners still meet with us.
And actually, so the reason for it is not just to bash team members and coaches. It's a lot of times the people who you work with, your team members, your coaches, your marketing team, your vendors, they don't own a business. They don't understand cash flow. If they make a bad call, they don't pay for the consequence. You do. And cash flow, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably concerned about cash flow. It's like daily concern for all business owners. And so if someone says something that might take 6 months to implement, doesn't work out for you and can cost a lot of money, that's an expensive, bad idea. And for a coach, for them, it's just a bad idea. They didn't work out in one of their meetings. So that's the biggest reason that I would still, of course, use your professionals, use your team, but I would still be involved in the details because they just don't understand owning a business, consequences, cash flow like you do.
Yep. Yeah. So again, don't, hire somebody and just give it away pretty much. Know where the bodies are buried, which is what we say. Don't trust and verify. We tend to have trust issues though. But What is the next brutally honest truth?
So the next brutally honest truth is that you should start to build a client acquisition culture. So what do I mean by that, Elliot?
So the brutally honest truth is if you use words like screen and people are broke and I hate those clients and they're the worst and we don't want to work with them and we hate taking on those people. If you say those words on a regular basis, your client acquisition, your sales and marketing culture probably sucks in your firm.
Yep.
Realistically. And what happens is family law is very taxing emotionally, right? Every business is taxing emotionally, but you guys deal with a lot of stuff. And you'll have one bad client out of 100 that will ruin your day, your week, your month. And then you'll say, we are never, ever taking on this person. This is the worst client ever. They're completely broke. They're whatever, whatever, whatever. Right. We'll complain. And what happens is our team picks up on that. Our intake people pick up on it. Our salespeople pick up on it. And after you do this for several years, your intake people will start to screen everybody out.
Yep.
And
Salespeople too.
Your salespeople will start to screen everybody out. And these are people that are supposed to be pulling people into your firm, right? You should have other mechanisms for screening. Your salespeople should not be one of them, right?
Yep.
It should be a salespeople brings in the sales, onboarding, make sure they're a good fit, or salespeople bring in the sales, and then they have some sort of retention metric, so they sell the best people. But again, sales job is to bring people in. Onboarding is to make sure that they're the best fit. And there's usually a two-way fit meeting there where, hey, yes, you're a good client. We want to take you on. Do you want to hire our firm still after meeting with your legal team? That's how the bigger firms do it, by the way. So I think if firms are not careful on the language they use on a consistent basis, their people are going to pick up on it and they're going to start repelling people. And by the end of it, they've repelled everybody and they have no more cases.
I think what it feels like, have you ever been to the doctor and you're dealing with like the staff there and you're just like, you're almost scared to ask a question because everyone's treating you like you're just a nuisance. Like You're bothering them. You're taking their time. Like you're kind of a scumbag for getting hurt and being there in the first place.
Yep.
That's the culture that it creates.
Another version of that is when you go to the drive-thru and you order something and they say, is that it? Is that it? Is that it? Versus what else can I get you?
Yep.
What else can I get you?
A lot of extra margin they could pull off of there.
But if you say, is that it? Is that it? Is that it? Guess what?
It's actually,
that's it.
What it reminds me of, and maybe it's just me, I don't like jewelry. I don't like Rolexes. But have you ever seen like the two security guards outside of Rolex?
Yeah.
They're not getting a lot of throughput through there. Now, they're a really successful company, so they could probably school me on all this stuff. But they're just sitting there like this, repelling. That's what it feels like a lot of family law firms. It's like you just have people, the gatekeepers are there with their hand out, screening a bit too much.
Yep. Yeah, too much screening. And it really, over the long term, what we've seen and what we've witnessed is that you will start to screen everybody out. And that is what is dangerous about a culture like that is that does not get fixed overnight.
Yeah. And the people calling into family law firms, they're having their worst day. They may not pass your screening of like, is a jerk on the phone, is rude on the phone. Like they may be rude. I mean, they just received some really bad news potentially, and they may not be in their best behavior.
Yep. So super damaging. Definitely probably one of the biggest killers in a firm is that culture of repelling versus attracting. All right. So what is the next brutally honest truth that we see with family law firms?
Teammates rowing against the owners.
Yeah.
Been there too ourselves.
Yeah. This is actually one of the most painful, especially if they're like a close friend or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, for me, especially what I see, because I talk to a lot of firms that we don't necessarily work with. And sometimes I don't talk to the owner and I will point blank ask the question, do you want to grow?
Yep.
And usually the response is no. And then I'll say, okay, well, does the owner of the firm want to make more money? And they'll say no. And this to me, I mean, if that's true, great.
Yeah, you're in a great spot.
You get into business more than likely to make more money and grow and scale so you can have more
Even
impact.
if that means, if you're having more impact than all
whatever.
those things.
But you're generally not in business to stagnate or decrease.
No.
So what's really scary, and the reason this happens, because I've thought about it, because I've just been dumbfounded on these calls, is someone in the firm, whoever I'm talking to, if you grow, it means more work for them.
Yep.
And why would they want that? Especially if they don't get paid for more work coming on, if they don't get compensated, recognized, promotion, career growth. If growth turns people off, number one, that's probably a big problem internally, but it's just scary to have that person making decisions on your behalf that you don't even know are happening.
Yep.
And again, if I get crazy about this, they will literally turn down opportunities for the firm to be completely different because they just don't give a shit. That's a reality.
Yeah.
They just don't.
It's a sad reality.
I mean, from your standpoint, what do you see?
I mean, this is kind of an extreme example. One of our clients talked about this at one of our events. So they got all fired up at the event about sales and they went and listened to their sales calls. And one of their attorneys, a close friend too, was telling prospects that you're probably not the right fit for our firm. Or our firm's not the right fit for you. We're just not really good at taking on cases right now. And she was blown away because sales was a big priority. Like they needed sales. and she had to make a tough decision, let go of that attorney, switch the sales process. It actually worked out for the attorney that did it really well for her, but that was an uncomfortable truth to uncover. And that's just like very extreme example of someone not like rowing against you, like in a passive way, like actually telling people, do not work with us. We don't want to grow.
Yeah.
And that was not what the founder wanted.
To give a tactical takeaway, how like we would generally do this, and this is what we do, A, for clients, B, for ourselves, right? Because don't trust and verify, is listen to phone calls, monitor KPIs,
Mhm.
sadly watch people doing their jobs, not as like a overbearing micromanager, but just to seek and understand what people are doing, because sometimes, a lot of times, people are actively rowing against you.
It always reminds me of, have you ever called for a new landscaping company or like a lawn service? It seems like these people do not care about money. They'll call you back weeks later. They will say they're going to give you a quote. They won't even give you a quote. It's like you have to like beg them to actually mow your lawn because maybe they are too busy. But I'm sure if you ask the owner of that company, like, do you want to get clients right now? They would say yes, but they're not acting like it. And that's what the energy the team will put off actually.
Yeah, there's usually a big mismatch in what the team thinks wants versus what the owner thinks wants. And so it could just be, and again, like I'm saying this from a standpoint of it hurts my soul when our clients, when this is happening to them, and we tell them, by the way, but it hurts my soul for how long has it gone on and how much time, money, energy, heartache has it cost them because they have this one person dragging down an entire firm, entire enterprise, really, if it's a big enough firm. So last brutally honest truth to tie the episode up. What's the biggest problem, the biggest hurtful truth that they're going to hear right now?
The hurtful truth is what you're doing before may not work anymore. What we mean by that, the most uncomfortable thing for a firm to go to is they built up one way, and now in order to keep on growing or even stay the same, they have to rebuild. It's the worst thing an owner can go through because we've been there too. It's like we always bring things to jiu-jitsu, like you're really good, you become like a purple belt, and now you got to go do wrestling to get better, and you have to suck at that and rebuild your whole game based off of this. And to give you a specific example, 2 years ago, you could run ads directly to paid consults, have someone who's not great on the phone say the consult is $350 and treat it like a doctor's office, and that would work. And you draw a profit and you'd grow. It's not true anymore. It doesn't work anymore like it used to. Or before, even if it wasn't just based off of time, you were building your firm off referrals. And you didn't really need sales. You didn't need someone to sell for you. You just had you had a great reputation. Everyone that would come in would pay a $500 consult and work with you, and you'd grow to quickly to 2 to 3 million, which is a great accomplishment. But now in order to get to 5 or 7, that's not going to work. And so holding on to things you did in the past that worked really well for you can be very dangerous for growth, especially with other things changing too. Like in family law, there's so many things changing. The way marketing works is changing. Lead costs are increasing. People are using salespeople. There's private equity in certain states. Like there's all these things changing. So the game is changing. So if you're not leveling up, evolving, and getting up to date with those new best practices, you'll just unfortunately hold on to a past that doesn't exist anymore.
You know, what's also happening is a lot of people are considering flat fees and or, subscriptions. They're talking about it. It's not yet rolled out for most people. I would say it's not a thing. But when that does become a thing, your prospects, no matter how rich they are, would rather pay a flat fee per month versus a $10,000 initial retainer. That is going to increase closing rates. It's going to decrease your closing rates. And so that's a big change that's on the horizon, I think, for a lot of firms. And the other thing that I've just witnessed, again, because I interface with a lot of the salespeople, I interface with a lot of the intake people, is it's like an Amazon culture. All of your potential clients want free shipping. They want it today, and they want to have free returns, and they want the best service.
Mm-hmm.
And they're spoiled pretty much. And the firms that have not kept up with that are losing, and they're backsliding. And what's really, really scary is when firms start backsliding and they don't know what to do. And this is that painful thing you just talked about potentially having to rebuild. What this could look like, and we've actually been here ourselves, is the attorneys doing your sales, who's your best friend and your kid's godparents, they can't sell anymore. And now you got to bring in a non-attorney salesperson. Your team won't like it because there's no way a non-attorney salesperson can sell because I'm a lawyer and there's no way they know what I know, which is true for lawyering, but guess what? They're better at sales. And now you have to convince your team that you need salespeople, convince your team that we have to switch ways and hire this person. And then that person might not work out and then you got to try again. And so this is the painful process that a lot of firms, unfortunately, are going through right now. And you can get through it. There are plenty of firms that do, but this is probably the hardest pill to swallow, I would say.
And the earlier you swallow the pill, the better. So it's really easy to rebuild when you're drawing a profit. But when you hit a cash flow crunch and you have to break your own beliefs and rebuild a new process you haven't done before, it's brutal.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen. We've had to help people through it. It's really, really tough to go through. It's like the worst thing ever. Having a cash flow crunch, having to learn new things and sell a different way and hire new people and spend more on marketing all during this period, it's really difficult to do. So if you're a firm who has built your firm off of referrals and you're doing paid consultations, right now would be the time I'd be open to changing that model. I wouldn't mess with what you're doing to grow, but for other sources and other ways to grow, I would be exploring when I am happy.
So tactically, how would you do that?
A better question right now is, what are some of the things that I would let go of that worked in the past that don't work now? I can give you a list of that, and then I think it'd be easier to solve.
So let's just say that paid consults worked in the past, but
So-
they're not working now for new sources.
Yep. So what I wouldn't do is switch to free consultations with all of my lawyers, because then your lawyers are going to get really frustrated. It probably will feel like it's not working because you're going to talk to a lot of people that are broke. I would probably bring in somebody to do a case evaluation and sell the consult with the lawyer, since your business already functions that way and you just get more throughput. And then eventually I would train that person to take over the sales and get the firm comfortable with that. That's the best segue, because we made that mistake in the past where you tell someone to do free consults, all the attorneys get frustrated, you don't have buy-in, everyone quits after a month. We tried the whole free thing, doesn't work. But if you ease into a free case evaluations with a salesperson or intake or just somebody else, it goes way better.
Yep. And so what we have found over just lots and lots of data sets is that it takes about 30 to 45 minutes to sell a consult. And it also takes about 30 to 45 minutes to sell the full divorce.
Mhm.
And if you're thinking the word sell is distasteful, because I talk to a lot of you and you hate that word, it's not so much. It is a sale because ultimately you're selling legal services. But what it is a structured conversation where they understand your firm, you understand them, and it's a two-way fit meeting pretty much. And then they get told the price. It is not a, well, what can I do to get you in this car today conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But again, what Erik's point is if you had to tactically bridge the gap between we've done it this way and we have a team of lawyers and there's no way they'll go for this, it's get somebody in to sell the consults versus have an intake person deliver that price in 1 minute.
Yep.
And if you want to know what that sounds like, watch our episode where we secret shop family law firms,
Yeah.
right?
A few other things that you may have to rethink going forward is, before, if you grew off of referrals, you may not have to have paid in the past to acquire each new customer. And maybe going forward, you do have to pay $1,000, $1,500 to buy a new customer, and that makes your business still profit. So that should be a good thing. So growing to $2 million off referrals is very possible. We've seen it done many times, but to get past that point, because you can only get so many referrals, unless you can keep stacking those, keep on going. But if you hit a ceiling there, you need to be willing to pay to advertise, pay for a lead, and you may not have advertised for a few years, and the lead cost is different. It's not going to be a $30 lead on Google. It's going to be 100 plus. So just be aware of those things and recognize them early so you can test those things while you're still making money, not when you need money now.
Yep. So if you have any questions about these crazy things that we're saying here, because maybe Erik and I get a little too radical, and you want to talk to us about these data points, nice, easy conversation, book a call. Otherwise, tune into any one of our episodes where we talk tactically about this stuff with family law firms actually doing it. See you on the next one.